Enemy target spotted!
Surprise, mother...
Fast reload activated. Enemy torpedo spotted! Torpedoes! Anti-aircraft gun on full alert. Enemy aircraft incoming! Target spotted. Enemy torpedo spotted! We're hit! Enemy aircraft incoming! Fast reload activated. Hit the enemy! Good job! Job! Nice shot! We're hit! We're hit!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at a new Tier 10 Premium light cruiser, technically a light cruiser, and that is the USS Austin. Now, I know it's in a sonar sweep, and just a quick disclaimer, personally I'm not a huge fan of this kind of mechanics. I probably wouldn't want to spend the amount of money necessary to get there, but that's everybody's choice. And the ships might show up in bundles later, or in the shipyard, or in any kind of other event. Oh, and you can be absolutely guaranteed that somebody out there, and I've already seen a bunch of them, is going to spend the amount of money necessary to get these things. So you'll find them on the enemy team, so it can't harm to know what they're good for. So, that out of the way, let's have a quick chat about the Austin. And now, the Austin almost existed, but in order to get to what the Austin was supposed to be, we'll have to look back a little bit, because at the outbreak of the Second World War for the Americans, which was a little bit later than for everybody else, because for a while they pretended it didn't happen, until the Japanese started blowing their stuff up, they had three cruisers, pretty much, that they were producing in large quantities. That was the Atlanta class, which was a 5-inch ultralight cruiser, 5-inch being 127 millimeters. These were the Cleveland class light cruisers with 150 millimeter or 6-inch guns, and the Baltimores with 203 millimeter or 6-inch guns. So they were at the time not making a huge amount of modifications to these, because they needed a lot of them and quickly. But one problem that sort of turned out later in the war, or two problems rather that turned out later in the war, kind of triggered a bit of a discussion about this. And that was A, the Japanese starting to use kamikaze, and B, the Germans starting to have anti-ship missiles. And effectively these were the same thing, only that the Germans didn't put a pilot in them, but the principle was the same. You have something sort of guided that crashes into your ship and is annoyingly effective at that. So AA became really an issue and a topic of discussion. And dual-purpose guns were really a big thing. So having 150 millimeter and higher dual-purpose guns with longer range and more stopping power, because smaller caliber guns or close-range guns really couldn't stop a kamikaze plane, because you weren't trying to salvage the plane, you were literally trying to crash it into the ship. So if it took a bunch of 20 millimeter rounds, it wasn't enough to shred it sufficiently that it would veer off course and not crash into the ship, which is what you're trying to achieve. So larger caliber AA was the topic of the day, and that's where the Super Atlantis sort of came in. So the idea was to replace the original 127mm guns with longer barreled 127s that were designed as secondaries for the Montana class, which never happened. But in the end, they decided not to go there, and because it was considered that it was insufficient. They already had, they were already working on the Des Moines and similar things. So it just, and the war ended, and it just didn't really happen. But this project of the CL 154, they were ready to the point of actually having numbers assigned to them, was effectively almost ready to be produced. The other problem that they had with these was that they were originally designated as CLDs, as destroyer leader light cruisers, so ultralight cruisers or scout cruisers, similar as we might call it here in game. And as such, they needed to be relatively fast. They had absolutely no armor whatsoever, and you needed to make adjustments in terms of space, because space was really a premium. Because if you make the ship larger, then you need more engines, and you need to make the ship larger again to maintain the speed, and there's all kinds of problems that you're counting up with these things. But what we have here is the theoretical CL-154. The Austin was never used as a name for it, but that's the ship. So if you look at it, you see that we have 6 127mm guns forward and 6 127mm aft. There are sort of these wing turrets, but unlike the original Atlanta, and already in the Flint we've seen that some of these had been removed, these were not the 127s. These were, I believe, 70mm AA guns, I think. Something around that caliber, but these were AA guns, so not something that was that you can actually use here actively as a secondary or anything like that. So let's have a couple of comparisons and then talk about the ship a bit. Now this is a tier 10 light cruiser. So we'll start out with comparing her to the Worcester, her larger sister, which has the 150mm dual purpose guns. The first thing that stands out here is the kit that we get. Now the Worcester has best in-game AA, has sonar and radar. The Austin gets a rapid reload 4, which is 75% reload reduction for 10 seconds. Okay? She also gets a Def AA 4, which is like a Def AA 3, only that it gives you 15% better range for both large caliber and small caliber. So you shoot earlier a little bit. It's not an awful lot, but it is a little bit. She also gets the same sonar as the Worcester, and she gets 2 fuel smokes, but these are exhaust fuel smokes. So this is the stuff that you get on the Italian destroyers. So this lasts for a whopping 6 seconds. It's not long. So you can take it with you, but it's an extremely short duration smoke. If we're looking at the data, the Austin has absolutely, literally no armor. She also has no hit points. She is reasonably maneuverable, but I would say it's kind of almost comparable to the Worcester, but it is a bit better, especially on the Traverse and the engines. The Worcester has a faster base reload. So here it gets really, really interesting. The Worcester has 12 guns, but these are 152mm guns compared to the Austin's 127mm guns. These are really, really interesting because they have a relatively long base reload with 6.8 seconds. The range is shorter, and obviously these being 127mm destroyer guns, the AG damage isn't great. 3.5% fire chance isn't massive either compared to the Worcester's 5%. And she gets semi-armor piercing, which we're going to have to talk about in more detail later on. But 6.8 seconds is pretty long. So here's the thing. Most of when the rapid reload is not active, this is a pretty poor gun layout for a ship in tier 10. But when the rapid reload is active, you get down to a 1.5 second reload while it's active for 10 seconds. And that is sort of the gimmick of this ship. She also gets torpedoes, unlike the Worcester. So you have 2 quintuple torpedo launchers with a decent range of 9 kilometers and a pretty hefty damage as well. The AA is not terrible, but it's not Worcester level of good. Because again, also the range, which is interesting. Once again, you use the defensive AA, it kind of picks up, but the small caliber AA on the Worcester is still a level of its own. Still, it's not a bad AA. The bigger problem with the AA is that, well, the bigger problem with carriers is that they swat you. It's not so much the planes. I mean, she can swat planes down out of the sky quite effectively, but the problem is you get spotted. The concealment is very good with 7.8 kilometers, which I already know is going to give some of you some ideas about concealment builds. But let's do some more comparisons. Let's compare to the Smolensk, because that obviously is the other tier 10 ultralight cruiser HE spammer. Now, the Smolensk actually gets proper smokes, not the extreme short duration fuel smokes. That said, the Smolensk has more hit points than this thing. Oh dear, oh dear. But maneuverability is slightly better on the Austin. In return, the Smolensk has a 5-second base reload and 16 guns rather than 12. And also, again, a range advantage. And she's got a 4.5% fire chance rather than the 3.5 on this thing. That said, she doesn't get the rapid reload, obviously. The Smolensk torpedoes are nothing to write home about. They're not great. That's not what the Smolensk is for. In the AA, she's not an AA ship either. So, the last thing I would like to draw your attention to is the gearing, because the actual CL-154 series wasn't built because they figured, hey, destroyers, not the gearing class, but destroyers are, I think it was the Mitcher class destroyers, are cheaper and almost as effective at this particular job. So let's make those instead. So if we compare these two, obviously gearing being a destroyer, it doesn't have an awful lot less hit points than this thing. You don't have a huge amount more than a gearing in terms of hit points, and the maneuverability on the gearing is a different level altogether, obviously. So the guns, these are the 38 caliber length 127 millimeter guns. So shorter range, which makes sense, but and fewer guns, but faster reload. And slightly worse fire chance, but the same HE damage. And the AP damage isn't terrible either. Now, the big difference being that the Austin is a cruiser, which means that any kind of battleship caliber shells is just going to delete this thing. So the Austin effectively... For the Austin, every battleship is a Christopher Colombo with the semi-armor piercing loaded. That's sort of, and yes, the semi-armor piercing from the CC does exactly that also to this ship. But every other battleship does that too with its armor piercing, so that's kind of where you're getting at. And look, it's the Gearing's torpedoes. So you have the Gearing's torpedoes, same range, obviously not the AA, and slightly worse concealment. So in theory, this looks like an amazing ship, right? This looks like and this is exactly what she was supposed to be. This was supposed to be a really, really big, like a destroyer leader, an ultralight cruiser or a really, really large destroyer, however you want to look at it. The big difference and the big problem here that you have is that in-game, the Austin is a cruiser, and as such has a citadel. The Gearing is a destroyer, and as such does not. So... the Austin will take full damage from armor-piercing shells, from battleship caliber armor-piercing shells, and pretty much every battleship out there can do anything between take half of your hit points off and outright delete you from the game. That's just what it is. Which is the experience the Gearing gets against the Christopher Colombo. The problem is you get it against everything. And that isn't just limited to battleships, because you don't want to know what heavy cruisers can do to this thing. So that is sort of the problem that this ship has. And let's go through the setup. You get the choice between reload, and you don't need the traverse speed. You've got a 40 degrees per second base traverse. You really don't. And you may as well just spec her for AA since you're at it. I would not recommend a full AA spec unless you want to just sit next to battleships and do nothing for half the game, except dodging incoming battleship fire. The main battery mod 3 seemed like a good choice for slot 1. You could try to go with main battery mod 2, but then honestly, you've got 4 rapid reloads. You can boost that to 5. I think it was 4, which means most of the burst damage is really the thing that makes this special. Propulsion in slot 2, yes. You could go double steering, or you could go propulsion. You could go small caliber A damage, but it's not an awful lot to begin with, so I probably wouldn't. And third slot is steering. Why steering, Terry? Why not concealment mod? Again, imagine you're in a destroyer and every battleship that shoots at you and every cruiser that shoots at you has semi-armor piercing loaded. Everyone. Every single one of them. That's the feeling when you're in this thing. Dodging is your only chance. And with a 10-kilometer range, you have to be mobile. You absolutely have to be mobile. I've played with both double steering and propulsion. I think it's pretty interchangeable. The slot 2 steering mod doesn't make a huge difference in the traverse acceleration, but propulsion is a good choice here as well. So you might as well use that. The historical camouflage, if you choose to put it on it, gets you a bit more range, which is sorely needed. Gives you torpedo range, which is also great. Traverse speed, yes please, and surface detection, which is good as well. So very good camo. You could say, hey Terry, why don't you play this as an ambush ship? Yes, you can ambush destroyers with it. But everything else, if you want to get anything done with these guns, if you want to get anything done, you need to play out, you need to get fire on target, a lot of it. That is what this ship's about. And you can't if you're playing ambushy, right? You can do the island campy thing to a degree, but you don't really have the range for it. And you're extremely squishy. So any kind of shots any kind of return fire is devastating. Whereas in a Worcester, you can to a degree tank a certain amount of return fire. This thing absolutely cannot. This is like a Smolensk without smoke that you have to play out in the open. And you have to play aggressively because you don't have the range for it. Yes, Terry, but how about the semi-armor piercing? You have very good semi-armor piercing. It does more damage. It does 500 points of damage. Yes, but this is 127mm semi-armor piercing. This struggles to get through 16mm plating on destroyers. Semi-armor piercing is utterly useless against anything other than destroyers at close range. So you don't use it. Unless a destroyer is stupid and gives you something to shoot at. Also, these are 127mm guns. They are destroyer guns. They are very, very floaty. And hitting destroyers at long range is about as easy as hitting them with Worcester shells at long range. You don't, right? It's you can throw a lot of shells down range and hope that something sticks, but it's very difficult to hit destroyers at range, which means you need to get stuck in. Which means that once again, because you're not a destroyer, you're a cruiser, you're getting hammered, and that is kind of where the difficulty comes in. The Worcester is a support cruiser. She's meant to hang back and play with her team. This isn't. This is a scout cruiser. She's meant to play more aggressively because she doesn't have the range to do anything else, and she's just not effective at extremely close ranges, at extremely long ranges. So you need to play more aggressively, which makes it more difficult in return. So HE guns only. So it really is a gun. It's a gunboat destroyer. It's like an oversized Harugumo or an oversized Khabarovsk, something like that, right? But with a citadel. That's how you have to imagine this ship. Anyway, lots of waffling. Let's have a quick look at the commander and then we get into some gameplay. I have used the battlefield support for an additional sonar and a defensive AA. You don't have to. You could use the other one. You definitely want the air defense expert. I'm actually using preheating here because you need to get into cover quickly at the onset of the game. Otherwise, you'll be really struggling. You can get survivalist. Daredevil might work as well because you will be on really low health pretty quickly. I've used the recon skill. You could use exploit weakness, maybe, but the shells individually don't do much damage. You're doing 400 alpha on these 127 mils. So if you're shooting at things that are on fire, you're doing like a couple points more of damage. But this gives you, in combination with the battlefield support, gives you a faster cooldown on the hydro. Fully prepared, because nothing else makes sense. Mistweaver doesn't make sense for the fuel smoke, so can ignore it. You could use the Adrenaline Rush for a faster base reload. That's a good choice. Or the Extinguisher, like I'm doing here. Given that you don't have any of the others, Demolition Expert's the only thing, and Master Reloader is a no-brainer. Now, obviously, with the American captains, I'm not sure. I don't think there's anybody for a semi-armor piercing. So the level 11 doesn't make any difference. You could use the IFHE. Not going to make a difference. These are 127mm guns. The 15% penetration boost doesn't mean jack for these things. They're too small caliber. And you could use the Giant Hunter, but it's not worth it really. You're not going to do any Citadel strikes with this thing. So anything beyond level 10 is kind of marginal. Similar with the other light cruisers. This is kind of where it's at here. The Master Reloader is the important skill here for the Austin. Okay, I think we've covered everything, and I've been talking for long enough, so let's get into some games. The first battle, obviously a tier 10 battle, and we are on Hourglass in base capture. It's a nice map. Lots of islands that you can hide behind. We're up against Colombo, Kurfürst, Minotaur, Colbert, Zhao, and Double Shima. So what do you do in this thing? Like I said, it's a scout cruiser. You can't rush ahead, because if you get spotted, you die in no time. You kind of need to find yourself a position from where you can work with your team and try to avoid being shot at. And use your torpedoes to effect if you can. So I'm going to see who I'm going to spawn with here. And that is, well, we'll switch over to the high explosive for starters. Why? Because we're spawning with Worcester. Because the semi-armor piercing is absolutely useless against anything other than destroyers at close to mid-range. And these are two Shimas. I'm not going to spot them anytime soon, because Shimas are sneaky. They will avoid being spotted by me, because the Shima outspots me. Worcester says hello. That gets you spotted, by the way, which is on this map where battleships can fire where battleships have range until the end, up to the enemy capture circle, can be a terrible idea. So I'm going to stay behind this island for now. Like I said, these are destroyer guns. They are and yes, American guns. They are pretty floaty, so the shells take a long time to get anywhere. And I'm not going to scout ahead, because the Shimas outspot me, and the battleships can just outright delete me from the game if I get spotted. Now, the Daring does some spotting on our side here, and the Worcester seems to be relatively aggressive. So, okay, I'm gonna come along then. Nothing's been spotted. I haven't been spotted, which means Shimas are not there, and Shimas are probably not gonna go after a Worcester and an Austin if they know what's good for them. And we have an enemy battleship. So, I'm gonna let the Worcester go first, because that thing's a bit sturdier than I am. And together we should be, that Freddy should be very afraid at this point. He hasn't seen us yet. I mean, it's not Freddy, it's a Curry, it's a GK. I'm not sure if he's seen us yet, but so let's open up on him. I'm pretty sure he's seen Worcester. Okay, there's a cruiser on my left, so I gotta be careful with that. Double fire, that was very lucky. The fire chance isn't that great. And the GK is not Damaconing that? Okay, GK shoots at the Worcester. Perfect, that's appreciated. Why is he having the high explosive load? Anyway, we're using a rapid reload. And that's what happens when you use the rapid reload. Yes, that is absolutely disgusting. And now he's damage controlled. So generally you want to wait until he damacons. There's kind of crossfire coming in from the left, but I think it's to Colbert. Colbert doesn't have large guns, so it's not a huge issue. GK is going forward, so lead the torpedoes ahead. His Damacon is now on cooldown, but I've already taken a couple of shots and already need to use my first heal here. There are some Daring Torps coming in, and he's dodged those as well. I mean, GK has got Hydro, so he probably knows what's coming, but he is going to burn, and he knows it, so he's probably going to try and get out of there. And he's now again focusing on the Worcester, which is perfect. So we've got a fire set. The thing is, the Worcester has a faster base reload. Another fire. We got really lucky with the fires here. It's only a 3.5% chance. It's like a Soviet destroyer. Not even. Soviet destroyers have better chances with the 130s, I believe. But it is a fire chance. So the Curry is now burning merrily, and I think from here on the Worcester should sort of have this. So I'm just prepping to run away in case something starts targeting me. But the GK is running, and I'm not doing any damage with the guns themselves, or not much damage with the guns themselves. It's the fires that really make the difference here. But that's one großer Kurfürst chased away. We've lost the cruiser. The enemy team has lost the destroyer. So that's good news. One of the Shimas is down. But there's a huge gap in the map. So if you look at the mini-map, you see that our flank here is very exposed. One of our battleships is exposed because both Worcester and me are out here. Worcester, you're running a bit low on hit points. Maybe not broadside a Kurfürst. So I'm orienting myself a bit more towards the middle and try to get into a position from where I can threaten the enemy capture circle and get into crossfires, preferably behind islands. Okay, Colombo takes out the Mino, and there's Colbert, so let's see if I can help out with Colbert. I am spotted, that means probably Shima is around here somewhere, but rapid reload up, let's see if we can get the Colbert. Okay, that's a Frenchman, he's a lot faster than that. But let's rain death and destruction on that thing. Because that burst damage is absolutely fearsome. The Colbert is running away, he's not stupid. And he's also being shot at by other things. So Colbert is a similar ship to this one. And I'm dead. Okay, there's the Shima. Yeah, that's what's been spotting me. I've been wondering where he was, so Hydra up. And there's still the großer Kurfürst. Shima is damage controlled at this range. Blind firing here with semi-armor piercing. Unfortunately, my rapid reload is on cooldown, and the Worcester has just died, and the Shima has gone undetected. So smoke up and try to deal with the GK. Is he reversing? Torpedoes out. Remember, you are at least half a gearing because the torpedoes are not center mounted, obviously, because you're not a destroyer. And then run away, because that's a großer Kurfürst. And if he hits me, then that spells doom. But I need that thing dead, because there's a Shima out here somewhere, and my Hydra's on cooldown. So try to duke some of his shells, rapid reload up, and try to get a fire. Come on, give me a fire. Before that thing reloads. Oh dear, he's reloaded. Okay, try to dodge. Is he overshooting? No, he's not overshooting. That's when you get a glancing shot from a großer Kurfürst on this thing. Yep. You get absolutely massacred. So fuel smoke up. Try to duke the next salvo that's coming in. Come on. He's blind firing, and yeah, that was that. But my last salvos are setting 2 fires, and I think these are perma-fires. So that GK might still go down. Colombo takes up the daring, because of course he does, because that's what Colombos do. And I get my revenge on the GK. But that leaves us with the Colombo and Vermont. And the Colombo takes out the Zao. Excellent. So now all they need to do is not die for the next 50 seconds. So let's see if they can manage. The Colombo seems to be relatively smart. Vermont, what are you doing? You know that there's a Shimakaze out there. Yeah, the Colombo says, stick together. Don't go in there. Vermont, why are you going in there? He's like, there's a destroyer there. Don't go there. And the Colombo says, yeah, sure, but I'm going in there anyway. And I'm going to go full broadside because Shimakaze's got nothing on me. If they trade, we lose. Probably. Yeah, there come the Shima Torps. Okay, at least he's going... Oh, okay, he's going bow in at least. So these Shima Torps are not going to kill the Vermont. Nicely done. And the Colombo can probably dodge most of them. Yep. Okay, that worked out. And there's an enemy Colombo. They don't need to kill anything. We're 20 points ahead. Just run the clock down. Friendly Colombo goes defensive. Excellent play. Has got the semi-armor piercing loaded. Probably expecting the Shima to show up. And Vermont's like, I got this. I'm going to cap. But we still win because the time runs out before my team manages to throw this game. And well played on the friendly Christopher Colombo, especially in the end there. So, yeah. What have we done? 70,000 points of damage. We haven't been able to catch any of the destroyers. But most of it's been done, or large parts of it's been done. And we came out second in the team. Large parts of it's been done with the fires. So let's do it again. And in the second game, once again, it's a tier 10 game, obviously. It's an epicenter chain. Epicenter is a bit of a problem for this kind of ship. We're up against Monty, Yama, Ruprecht, Tulsa, Brindisi, Saint Louis, and Shimakaze. All of these things are problematic, except for the Shima. The Shima is the one thing I'm not afraid of. The problem is that the Shima can outspot me, And everything else in this game can just, on the enemy team, can just outright delete me. Why is epicenter a problem? Well, because somebody needs to capture the rings. And you're not in a ship that can do that. Because you only have a fuel smoke, you're in an ultralight cruiser, and you're effectively made out of citadels. So once again, I'm switching to the high explosive. Why? Because that's a Shima. Shima can outspot me, and if he knows what's good for him, he's not going to be visible. And the semi-armor piercing is utterly useless against anything. That's a difference, by the way, between this ship on Blitz and this ship on PC. Because on PC, this is an hilariously broken ship in the right hands. And that's because because of armor angling mechanics, and that the semi-armor piercing can actually do some damage. On Blitz, the semi-armor piercing is completely useless. So don't even try. Okay, switch to the SAP because I've got 2 destroyers scouting at this point, and there is a chance that Yugumo or Halland's got radar, might be able to sniff out the Shima. And if they do, then I can do something about it. But I do need to get myself into cover, so I'm heading over towards the that little nice chunky island over there. And there's the Shima. Yeah, they've sniffed him out. So we'll get some shots off. That gets me exposed, of course, so I do have to be careful now. And rapid reload up. The problem is at this range, so you see how floaty the shells are. It's really, really difficult to actually hit anything. The Shima panic smokes. I take a chunk here. That wasn't even a battleship. I think that was one of the cruisers that just took 8,000 hit points off me. And run away. Because problems. So first healing. And yeah, that hasn't done an awful lot against the Shima, as you can tell. Should I have gone right in the middle there and duked it out with the Shima, I may have been able to kill the Shima. But I would have died in return, because everything else can just outright delete me here. So shells out against the Shima once again. So now up, just in case there are torpedoes in the water. But Shima is retreating now, so we have the center cap, which means deterrence has been sufficient. And that's probably down to Halland's radar, so well done. We have managed to lose a battleship in the meantime. I'm not sure how that happened. Probably Shima torps. Yeah, I think, yes, Shima torps. Because obviously a spotted Shima, Shima spotted in the center cap, there's no way there can be torpedoes in the water, can there? Anyway, the teams can't, we only hold the center ring, and it looks like Shima is going to get it back. So I'm going to try and do something, not about the rings, but I'm trying to get into a flanking position from where I can use the shell elevation, and obviously I'm getting spotted because that darn Shima is back, and there's a Tulsa out there. That's a heavy cruiser, so not good. Get the island between myself and everything else, and then once again start unloading at that Shima. So rapid reload up, and Daka! Come on, come on. Oh, he gets undetected again. Dang it. Blind fire, blind fire, blind fire. Where is he? Where did he go? He's somewhere out here. Crap. If I was in a Worcester, I would have just radared him and he would have been a dead Shima. But I am not, so he isn't. So now I've got Yamato and Tulsa to play with. The Tulsa can fire at me, and that's bad news. So I need to get the chunky bits of the island between myself and the Tulsa. Use the torpedo indicator to see where the Tulsa is going. And try to stay hidden. So just don't expose the center part of the ship, and the Yamato isn't even looking at me. So the Yamato is not my problem right now. That Tulsa there is. So I'm going to stay behind the island and I'll keep a close eye and see that if he's going to decide that he wants to come around and do something about me. Other than that, I'm going to try and do some damage against the Yamato. But as you can see, okay, Tulsa, are you coming? No, he's not coming. As you can see, the high explosive does not do an awful lot of damage, unfortunately. Now I'm spotted. But somebody took out the Shima, so I should go unspotted in a sec. Now Saint Louis comes around. Okay, no, I'm still unspotted, but Saint Louis is coming around. Okay, Saint Louis is spotting me. Saint Louis is pushing through the center. Finally, and now the Yama is shooting at me, obviously, so fuel smoke up. Because this was only 2 turrets, and these were some over-penetrations or glancing shots, I hope. But I think he damage controlled the fire, so rapid reload and Daka! It's a triple perma, thank you. You see, when this thing works, it's actually pretty glorious. The problem is the survivability. So, there comes another salvo from the Yamato. Ow, that could have gone a lot worse. But let's go behind the island. Is he going forward? And yeah, the Tulsa is my bigger problem. Again, the Yamato doesn't reload particularly fast, but that heavy cruiser does. So, I'm going to need to run away. Yamato damage controlled the the triple fire, I believe, or it's burnt out. But now we need to get out of here and play around the island again. So come on, get me undetected. There shouldn't be anybody spotting me from the other side. Okay, yeah, a couple more shots, and the Tulsa Citadel's the crap out of me here. Okay, we did get 2 torpedo hits in, but now it's an unfortunate situation. I can't lob over that. We are capturing back the center cup. We're equal on kills. So the second torpedo launcher. Tulsa, are you coming around? I believe he is. Can I lob this? No, I cannot lob this. Tulsa is going to come around that corner, so I'm going to be in deep trouble once he does, because I'm out of heals, and I only got 3,000 hit points left, because I think Tulsa just came around the corner. He ate 1 torp, but yeah, absolutely no chance. You see, this is the problem with the Austin. Well, let's watch. Yeah, our team's lost. We're 1 kill down. We're down on points. We are holding 2 of the caps, but there's that Tulsa out there that Yugumo just suicided into him. Yep. And there's a Brindisi, so that Halland is dead as well. That leaves the Yamato at the other end of the map, and that Izumo who's broadsiding everybody in the outer ring. Yeah. So the problem with the Austin, why does the Austin not really work compared to, say, something like the Smolensk? The Smolensk has a better fire chance. The Smolensk has actual smokes. The Smolensk is an extremely dangerous ship. The Smolensk has better range. The Austin has a lot of things that work very well at kind of close range. You could torpedo. You could play the Austin as a stealth torp boat if you wanted, but you have. I mean, you kind of got gearing torps, right? You could play it as an oversized gearing and try to make something happen. That might work, but you don't have a smoke screen. You only have the fuel smokes, and they are, for all intents and purposes, useless on a cruiser because you're too large of a target. So anybody just needs to point their guns at the fuel smoke puffs, and you get eliminated. The semi-armor piercing is completely useless. The AA is good, but again, you don't have the hit points to deal with carrier strikes, because something will get through. And the bigger problem with the planes is that they spot you, and then people will delete you. So, is it an American Smolensk? No, it isn't quite. Is it comparable to the Worcester? No. The Worcester is a support cruiser. This thing needs to play more aggressively. It's one of those ships that should work by what's on paper. It really should work by what's on paper. But in practice, you're really going to struggle to make the ship work because of the fragility, because the semi-armor piercing is completely useless, and because the shells are extremely floaty, such that in order to actually deal with destroyers, you need to be at close ranges, which isn't a problem from the destroyer's perspective. It's a problem that they spot you, and heavy cruisers, battleships, everything can just almost outright delete you if you're not super careful. So, yeah, that's the Austin. It's a meme ship to a degree. And if you totally want to have, why does the Atlanta, last little loop, why does the Atlanta work? The Atlanta works because it's tier 7, because you're getting into tier 6 games where everybody just either tunnel visions or shoots at something, like changes their target every 2 seconds, and people have the attention span of a kitten. In tier 10, it's a slightly different story. So that's why she doesn't work, in my opinion. The Flint already had a hard time at tier 7. This thing, at tier 10, you're not gonna have a huge amount of fun unless you're after the destroyer meme kills. For that, she's pretty good. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.